Welcome, everybody, to episode 4 of Between Sundays. And looking forward to today's topic as we get into faith and technology and how that goes together. But before we get into anything, we got to tell everybody Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And it is that time of year, man.
What is your favorite thing to eat for Thanksgiving?
Favorite thing, like overall, or are we giving categories here?
If it was Thanksgiving and you walk into Grandma's house and it's not there, it's ruined Thanksgiving. What would that be?
I would have to say, I guess I'm an old soul with this one. I would have to say sweet potato casserole.
I can understand that.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
It's that hybrid of it's a side, but it's dessert too.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like whenever you are planning your plate out, it's like there's got to be some give and take here.
Yes.
We got to have some room left for something.
It's that good side that you can justify getting another dessert.
Oh, yeah.
And you can say, well, that was just a side.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
So.
And you can get a little bit with a little bit of turkey.
Exactly.
And that's one bite.
So what about you? If it wasn't there.
So I grew up with my grandma. I grew up and I thought it was cornbread.
Okay.
But it was actually corn casserole. It's like whole corn kernels in the bread. And
I don't know if I've had that.
I always thought that was cornbread, but that's my favorite thing.
Okay.
I guess technically it's corn casserole.
Yeah.
But it's like the Jiffy box of cornbread.
Oh, yeah.
With whole corn kernels in it with cream corn. I mean, that's my favorite.
See, we've just had like cream corn.
See, and I like cream corn too.
That's all. I mean, all of it's good.
Yeah.
Now, are you what kind of how do you cook the turkey? Are you oven baked? Are you fried turkey?
I like a good fried turkey. Like if it's done right, it's not dry. There's nothing there. I will leave a Thanksgiving.
Oh, if it's bad?
If it's dry.
Oh, yeah.
And that
by far.
That irritates me.
It ruins it.
It does. It does irritate me.
Now, are you the guy that like if ham as well at Thanksgiving?
Ham's hard to mess up though.
It is, but it's one of those like either people love it or hate it.
Yeah. I don't want thin slices of ham though.
Yeah.
I want like it needs to be at least 2 inches thick. Like I want a thick cut of ham.
My wife is like if it's not there, she's walking out is deviled eggs.
See a lot, and I've never been a huge deviled egg person.
Like she'll fight you.
Yeah. Her
and my sister together, they'll fight.
Nobody wins a room in like 15 minutes after everybody eating deviled eggs.
No.
Nobody's a winner in that.
It's within moderation.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yes. You don't like the dude that's sitting over there just down in deviled
Nobody's
eggs.
Sitting near him.
Nobody. He needs to go home early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I still love my wife, even though she eats a lot of deviled eggs.
Hey.
So. But no, it is funny. It is funny when they get together. They're like excited, like very much so. But and then you can again I love a good banana pudding. Always good.
We've talked about this.
Banana pudding. Yeah, we've had a long conversation about it.
We had at least a 45-minute conversation.
We may have to let people know about that one day.
Yes.
But they may understand our view of that.
Yeah.
I think we could sway people from the other way of eating it.
I would throw banana pudding at somebody that's not done correctly.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, there hasn't been until recently. There was somebody that I had tried their banana pudding.
Yeah.
Was the best banana pudding I've ever had.
Okay.
And
is that available to bring here one day?
Could possibly.
We'll just let the viewers see it as we'll snack in between takes.
There you go.
Things like
Just a little bite here. Yeah.
Well, now that we're good and hungry.
Oh yeah.
With all that, now we're trying to think about what's eating later, which is just more turkey on a turkey sandwich and all that good stuff. So, but again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we do hope you have a great time with your family throughout the holiday, and pray you don't get busy and stressed. I know that sounds easy to say with cooking and all of that fun, but as best you can, enjoy it. And I don't know, I think kind of a good way to get into today, talking about getting caught up in things and getting caught up into the stress of life around us. What we're getting into today, talking about faith and technology, Really easy to do that. And again, it's funny, we have an episode on technology while we're using technology to get things out there. But it's all in how you use it. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Technology is not bad by itself. It's not inherently bad, right? It's just how we use it, And so it's one of those things of we cannot let it have control of us in life, And, of course, we got to make sure, as we're online. And that's what's crazy to me is just how accessible the world is now through it. It kind of scares you a little bit. Like, kids are getting younger now, getting cell phones.
Yeah.
I was 15. No, I was going on 16 when I got my first cell phone, and it was analog green screen with black lettering. That's it. StarTAC. I don't know if anybody's ever known that before. If that tells you how old I am. And then I remember when I got my first, not picture screen like we have today, color screen phone, Motorola. But all it did was call. You paid for text messages when I had a phone.
Yeah.
You called your friends after 9 o'clock for free minutes. And you're looking at me like, what era are you from?
Never heard of any of this stuff.
I know. Nobody has. Y'all grew up as they got, for me, if you hit the internet button when I first got a phone, immediately your dad kicked you out of the house. It's just how it was. Because the amount of money that the internet button cost if you accidentally hit it was astronomical. I mean, it was just like, it went from a regular cell phone bill to like a $300 cell phone bill just by hitting the internet button. But yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy how early on, man, I hear it here, we have our day school. And man, you've seen it going down the halls, how little some of these kids are with technology.
Yeah. How small they are, and it's like they can't even form a sentence, but you hand them a phone and they're going to know how to get to Cocomelon. They know how to go through it.
It's crazy, man. And I tell you what is scary through it, and this is kind of what we're getting into today a little bit, is just the unchecked availability of technology.
Yeah.
And I say this to any parents that listen, do your research, do what you can to put the safeguards in place on these phones and things like that, even on computers. And there's so much out there now, I mean, that you can put, barriers on your Wi-Fi routers and all this stuff. Like, do those things. Do your kids a favor, your students a favor, by taking a little time and putting those things in place, because there's just too much available to them. Yeah. Way too much available to them nowadays.
The dumbest thing I think I've ever heard was somebody that said, I don't feel like I need to do that. I trust my kid.
Oof.
And I was like, I don't even trust myself.
Yeah, no.
I don't really know how that works. And I understand I don't have any kids. I don't have skin in the game on that aspect. But the technology that we have today, it is a great slave.
Yes.
But it is a terrible master.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, especially today, we don't like the word accountability. We don't like things that are going to roadblock us to where we give ourselves free will to this thing that just gives us access to anything we can think of.
Oh, yeah.
And, especially with AI coming out now, getting more and more intelligent, it's scary of what's going to happen in, 10, 15 years. Is the stuff that we're talking about today, the new age stuff that we're talking about today, is it irrelevant in just a few years because of how far it could go? And I think it's just opening the door up more and more to a lot of struggles that we bring on to ourselves.
Yeah.
Just by not getting ourselves in check.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what I'm excited about to talk about today as far as faith and technology.
Oh, yeah. And again, we're thankful for how it connects.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of talked about it in one of the other episodes of, my day was MySpace and different things. We still got to show that. I will get a screenshot. I tried to log into my MySpace one time.
Did you?
My old MySpace. I could not remember it. It was a time where like everybody was making up weird email addresses that had like, now we just like use our name.
Yeah.
It's I don't even know. And then like I don't even know, we have that habit of a password nowadays. That one that we use for everything.
I don't have one password for everything.
Yeah, or we just let the iPhone do the strong password, and we can't remember that at all.
Greatest thing ever.
Yeah, we just pray that the password app remembers it, because if it doesn't, we're done. It's resetting again.
Yep.
But I couldn't remember none of it. But we'll have to flash up a screenshot of a MySpace page. But that was it. Like we got so excited, connectivity, things like that. Getting to stay connected with family members if you weren't in the area, or building your friend groups and all this stuff. And all of that is great.
Mm-hmm.
But the more, the more we're getting in this generation and things like that, the level of stress, the level of anxiety, the level of comparison, depression, all these things that you're getting into was something that's meant to be a good thing. As far as like social media and different things, and the technology it's really getting out of hand nowadays, and of just, and again, we've kind of hinted at this through through different episodes of comparison in ways, or we only show the highlight reels of life.
Mm-hmm.
We only show the good moments, and this comparison and all of these things. All it is just this. It's draining on just living this life and finding joy, in this life. And not only do, we have pressures of just life in general, especially students. You think about somebody trying to make a ball team, or somebody trying to keep good grades in school, or they're trying to navigate, a new school. So you already have pressures of life anyway. And then when you add these digital pressures of, this person's post looks better than my post, or what they're posting about, I wish I had, any of those things. And then we just get into this place of just getting sucked into this technology. And then it's really at this point of like, where's the getting off point, or what do we do? What do we put in place to help us in those things in life? And, I'll turn it over to you, but you were talking about a scripture earlier in Romans, and just talking about making sure that we have this kind of priority in our life and what our focus is. And so why don't you get into that a little bit, and we'll kind of set up the rest of the episode as we kind of get into the scripture today, and just how it can help us with this topic that we're talking about today.
Yeah, no, we was talking about in Romans chapter 12, verse number 1. It says, I beseech ye therefore, brethren, this is Paul writing, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God. And it's funny how Paul says, which is your reasonable service.
Yeah. He's
not saying like you're having to go out of your way. This is what Christ has done for you. This is your reasonable service. And then he goes on to say, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. There was no getting around in that verse, and even in Paul's talking a lot of times. He is very much aware that there's not anything we can do outside of this world.
Yeah.
We're part of it. We're here. But so often we look at what other people are doing, what other people post about having, what other people can afford, and we start getting conformed to this world. We start trying to base our life off of someone else's opinion, and we try to base our emotions off of what somebody else would think about this.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to give, at least the listeners a little secret to life, if you will, is don't live that life.
Yeah.
Don't live your life thinking that the way everybody posts online is the way that they actually live.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking about this in either episode 2 or episode 3. It's completely correct. We don't post the bad stuff that happens. We don't like that transparency there. We don't want people to really know how it is, and because we think that way, nobody else thinks that way, and it's one of those things where if we're not careful, we'll get so conformed and forget what we're put on this planet to do. We'll get so conformed to the world that we try to be the world, and that's what Paul is saying here. He's saying you're part of the world, but you don't have to be part of the world. You can.
I think they used to say in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the old phrase I used to hear a lot.
You don't have to do those things. And Paul's emphasizing that of make yourself holy, make yourself acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And I think that's something that we've stole. I think Satan has stole of a lot of innocence. He stole a lot of peace. He stole a lot of comfort. He's stolen a lot of our sound mind. We believe lies on the internet now, things that just aren't true. We think about those so much. And, if we're not careful, we get so wrapped up in the digital age that we forget that real life happens all around us. And I had friends growing up that they lived for one more snap on Snapchat.
Yeah.
And it was...
I think I tried Snapchat with Heather for like a month.
I don't know how some of them people do it.
Well, it was when all the streak stuff was big, and you can't miss a day.
Yeah.
And I'm horrible at that.
And you think about streaks of like, Snapchat is making you so reliant on that this thing that actually causes no gratification of life. You're not going to be any more successful by how many times you post or how often you post or how many snaps you have with somebody, but it does things that are so enticing to get our flesh fed so that we continue using it. And when we continue using it, then we start becoming more reliant on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start going where we can't go a day without it. And I think it's something that we're not going to get around being part of the world. But we can not be part of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Paul's writing here. And, what are you focusing on in your faith?
Well, and the big thing you got to be careful of, you look at that scripture that says, "Be not conformed to this world," but then it goes a step further. And I'm thankful that, the Bible doesn't leave us with a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
For the times where it says, "Hey, don't do this," that it comes right back around and says, "But hey, let's do this," and it helps us in our life. But it says, don't be conformed to the world, but then it says be transformed. And here's the reality, what goes into our mind and the things that we let come through our eyes and our ears and all these things eventually shapes who we are. It starts to get down deep in our life. We start to give into those things. And that's why I believe what he's saying there, being transformed by the renewing of your mind. We can't be transformed into something that God has for us when all the influence that we get in our lives is from the world.
Yeah.
If it's just constantly scrolling and just looking at this and looking at that, and kind of we get in that trap of it's amazing how much time will pass when you're scrolling.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been like me before, but man, it's embarrassing sometimes if you look at screen time.
I get a little notification on Sunday sometimes. I think it's usually about the time we're doing Sunday school. Yeah. And I don't know why it's on that time, but I usually get a notification. I'll look at it, and it's right before Sunday school. I'm like, I don't even want to look at that.
No, because, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Just the time. But we get so caught up in it, and then we wonder why, we feel the way that we do. We wonder why our mindset is the way that it is because, we haven't been putting the right things in our life, or we're not using those things in the right ways, to be even a help to somebody else, because that's the thing I want us, to grasp today is like, it's a two-way street, just as much as I need, I need technology, but just as much as we should desire technology to impact us in a positive or godly way, we need to say, okay, how can I also use that technology to impact others in a positive and godly way? If I'm gonna have, Snapchat, if I'm gonna have Instagram, if I'm gonna have, for the older people, Facebook, because it's not the young person's social media anymore.
I love Facebook.
I like Facebook, but I was at kind of the beginning of it, so it comes and goes. It's like they say it's for old folks, and then they get on, and then they get tired. I don't know. I don't understand it all, but if you're gonna have those accounts,
Yes.
if you're gonna have TikTok, any of those things, how can we use it with it again to look at it in a positive way, with something that gives us such great connectivity or access to the world?
Mm-hmm.
How can we use it in the right way? How basically like this, how do we use it and it not use us?
Exactly.
And I think that's what we got to get into, as far as like, let's be thankful for the opportunities God gives us through these things, but then how does he get the glory through it?
Yeah. I think a lot of times when we talk about technology too, we both know this being in youth, when we bring up technology, we start to get tuned out, because it's like they almost have this mindset that if they take away technology, we have nothing else.
Yeah.
Nowhere in this are we saying that you need to isolate yourself from any of this, but you need to be intentional about your use for it.
Yes.
You need to remember with any of the social media that anything that's put in front of God is a problem.
Yeah.
And, I have a tendency a lot of times to roll over in bed, hit snooze, because I use my phone for my alarm clock, hit snooze or hit end alarm. And while my hand's over there, I'll just go ahead and pick that up for this morning, and I'll sit here for a few minutes, and I'll scroll laying in the bed. Like I said at the beginning, it is a terrible master, but it's a great slave. If you make it do what you need it to do, I think God can get glory in that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's whenever we take it too far. It's whenever we put too much trust in ourselves. It is when we use it for things that are not godly, is the spot where we start getting more dependent on it, I think. I think when we use technology for what it's intended for, and it's not intended for all this other garbage, it's not intended for you seeing what your friends are spending their money on or how much money they're spending on vacation. You're using it what it's intended for. And I think kind of even just looking at our paper from what we've talked about, we kind of get into that a little bit of trying to help some of those aspects. You might say, man, I would love Facebook. I would love social media, but every time I get on it, I get upset.
Yeah.
Then don't get it. But there's some of us that you can be on there, and that's kind of what we want to talk about in just a few minutes. Kind of helping navigate that.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's one of those things of keeping God first.
Absolutely.
Through it, and then understanding that God can use it. But like you said, if that technology, that phone, gets more of the day than God gets of us throughout the day, then we're going to be a slave to it. We're going to get caught up in it. We're going to get isolated in things. It's amazing with teens. You can almost tell those times when they're getting caught up and stuff like that, because just in their demeanor and how they act, all these things, that almost pulling back, that reserved, side of them, and you can see them kind of getting caught up in that stuff, And so how do we use it? If we're talking about how do we honor God with technology? If God's given it to us, God's allowed technology to happen. We have to acknowledge that. And God has allowed us to have the type of technology that we have today, whether it's AI, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's, social media accounts, all those things. How do we take this platform that God's allowed us to have, and again, can be a phenomenal thing. I remember, this has been years ago. Years ago. I was still living in North Carolina then, so I moved away from there in 2006. So, this was early 2000s, before, we had computers in our pockets with cell phones. And I had a friend of mine, she started writing a blog online. She was, some things going through in her life, different things. She was just kind of almost journaling in a sense, but wasn't afraid to make it public. And man, before we realized it, and again, this was, earlier years, just dial-up internet, honestly, at the time, before we, have what we have now. And man, it's like it's reaching overseas. Like, there are people emailing her back talking about how this struggle she went through helped them, or, this verse helped them. And that, again, that was then. And so how much more could we do something for God now in the right way, using these platforms, to get his name out there and reach. And so, as we look at that, how do we honor God with these things? Well, obviously, you can look at the simple things of just being kind online, being truthful, being encouraging, things like that. But, let's get down into the nitty-gritty of it, because it's easy to make a good post. It's easy to put a graphic of a Bible verse up and things like that. But if, one thing that hit me and we kind of jotted down here was digital integrity. That the same integrity that we hold in our everyday life, let's hold it on the digital side of things.
Yeah.
On the social media side of things. What does our DMs look like? Because I can post a verse over here and it looked great, and then, man, I can run somebody in the ground over here on a private message.
Yep.
But I still got my verse up in my bio and all of these things. What do my comments look like? And not just am I being encouraging, if somebody's going after somebody else, am I sticking up for that person? Am I being somebody that can encourage and things like that? My group chats, there's a lot of things we can look at, kind of integrity in a digital age.
Yeah.
Of what are we doing with these platforms?
Yeah. There was a thing, I don't remember who even said it now. I'm sure it's an old thing, but there was a celebrity a long time ago that kind of was trying to make it popular, I think. But she was saying that only God can judge me. And I was like, and that should scare you half to death. Mm-hmm. Like that should scare you. Because we think that a lot of times the people that it's affecting, if we do make those comments on Facebook, it's only affecting ourselves. But the reality is, I don't know how many times I'm going to tell on myself, and I hope it's okay that I tell on myself. I'll forgive myself later. But how many times I'll see somebody make a comment on there and me have, man, that person don't live like that.
Yeah.
And then I start getting judgmental, and then I start thinking, okay, this isn't the way it should have been. But at the same time, we'll be so quick to judge others, but so slow to judge ourselves.
Yeah.
And, looking at it from our side is saying, okay, am I in a place where I can even cast a stone? Am I affecting myself, or am I affecting other people? And the reality of it is a lot of times we're not just affecting ourselves, we're affecting the name of Christ.
Absolutely.
And, it's something that I see growing more and more as a problem with that digital age creeping into that digital life creeping into our real life, where we can take those, and we would never post this online, but we'll talk to a friend about it, or we'll talk about a person to a friend. And, it's something that we do it so often, we don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
With saying, man, do you see that person's post? Or, taking a screenshot and sending it to somebody of a text message that you got. And it's dangerous, because if you're not careful, we'll let pride build up so much to where we become the only person that does anything correct.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to live up to our standard, and everybody needs to live up to the way we do things and the way we live our life. And I do have a challenge for the people, the listeners that are listening. You're like, man, I think, man, I don't have a problem with this. The way I found out that I had a problem with my phone a lot of times, I heard somebody say, if you tell somebody to put their phone down and they let out a sigh, they have a problem with it. And if you tell yourself to put your phone down and you don't do it right there, you have a problem.
Oh, yeah, that's
saying,
a good way to look at it.
Man, I need to go clean my office. I need to go do the dishes. And I had that thought 45 minutes ago because I stayed on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Is it being a slave, or is it being a master in your life?
Yeah.
And we have to be careful with that.
Absolutely.
So what are some ways that we kind of wrote some stuff down? What are some of your biggest things that you see to help with the healthy side of having a digital life?
Well, I mean, one, we've got to understand this. If we need structure in life, we need structure with those.
It's structure is not a bad thing.
No.
Accountability is not a bad thing.
No.
Saying, I don't have the will to do this on my own and I
Yeah.
need somebody else is okay.
Yes.
But we have stepped so far away from that. So why I think a lot of the mess that we're in today is because we just left ourselves unchecked.
Yes. I heard somebody say one time, accountability, there's two ways to look at accountability, and really it determines our acceptance of it or not. And we can either view accountability as a guardrail or we view it as a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like I've got family that lives in Virginia in the mountains. So, I mean, we're in Tennessee a lot with youth conferences and things like that. Guardrails don't keep us from getting where we want to go.
Yep.
Right? They just keep us safe.
Yep.
They
keep you from hurting yourself.
Exactly. I mean, nobody wants to go over the mountain at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And go careening down. But we do that in our Christian life. We get near the edge, the wheel slips off, and man, now we're tumbling with no hope of how to get back up.
Yeah.
But the problem is if we view accountability as a roadblock, we'll never accept it. We'll never. That's what causes I think a lot of times with teens them to reject it, because they think if you say accountability or talking about bringing biblical structure into their life, they act as if like you're telling them, okay, I can't have this anymore.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to have fun. I'll never be able to enjoy life. And God's not saying that. I mean, God wants us to have a joyful life in Him, but He wants us to be safe in doing it.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things about having freedom is being able to live and be joyful in that freedom.
Bingo.
Well, how do we do that? By having things in place that keep us safe.
Yeah.
And so, when we're talking about accountability, when we're talking about some of these things to have a healthy presence in this digital life, we're not saying don't have a phone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've got one. It very much is useful for me during the day. I answer emails, texts, all these things. Very helpful. But even I, at my age, have had to put things in place to make sure that is a healthy part of my life. So, one thing you said earlier, no phone in the mornings.
Yeah.
As best you can.
Now, we're not talking to the listeners here. We're talking this is affecting me and I don't like it. So we're talking about them, not us.
Yeah. But, like if you get up and, I mean, I'll say it like this, and I'm saying this like not saying you need to go do this, but, if your phone's the first thing you check because it is the alarm clock, go buy a cheap alarm clock. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like go get one. Go get one of those old school metal ones that the bell literally rings and, all that stuff. You want to throw it across the room. But, I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but there are sometimes, and again, we've talked about this word, you've got to be intentional in things. Sometimes intentionality means going out of our way a little bit to make sure we don't get stuck in certain situations, you know? So, be careful of those mornings. One thing I have heard, and I know this is kind of a tough topic in recent, in light of what's happened lately, but I've seen some of his videos and things like that. And I remember hearing Charlie Kirk talk about, kind of this digital Sabbath of literally a whole day of setting his phone aside, of just spending time with his family. Now, that sounds drastic, but could it be beneficial for people? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of just setting it down, not worrying with it, cutting it off, or if nothing else, there's so much settings on it now. Make it where it's just your family that calls.
Yeah.
Block out some of the apps, things like that. None of those things are going to be harmful to us. Life is going to keep going.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. The sun will keep going. The sun will keep rising. It'll be fine. Mute things. Get out of group chat. All those things. Be intentional in your hours with them.
Going back to that one, that was something that for a long time I didn't think was allowed.
Which one?
The mute, unfollow, and delete.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, we don't want to offend people.
Yeah. And truthfully, and I don't mean this mean, I don't mean this any ill will. If somebody posts something and you don't agree with it, you don't have to keep following them.
Yes. Yeah.
If every time that person comes up and you can't have a negative thought about them, you need to unfollow them. Now, do it wisely. Like, don't
make a spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Don't go post and be like, "Hey, I don't like you and I'm about to unfollow you."
Yeah. You don't have to make it public knowledge. But there's things that even brands that I would follow that we keep going and we don't unsubscribe to the text messages or emails. And it affects you. It affects your walk with Christ. You need to get rid of it. You need to put it out. If it's not causing you to get closer to Christ, it's causing you to get farther away from Christ, it has no place in your life.
Absolutely.
So do yourself a favor. I did myself a favor a long time ago of just, not that any of the people that I unfollowed were bad, but if it affected me somehow, and now I'm sure like my wife's going to go through and see who all I've unfollowed, and it hasn't been anybody recently, but a long time ago, whenever I went through it, it clears a lot of stuff up in your mind, and it also takes away your pride when you see them come up and you think, man, I just don't like that person.
Yeah.
That's wrong. And it's easier for you just to unfollow them than for you to keep going that way.
Oh, absolutely. It kind of reminds me when I pastored, there would be people that rather than, and again, it's, we don't want to see anybody go in a church, but they'd rather stay and be miserable.
Exactly.
And deal with somebody than just find a place that they can have joy in and worship.
Yeah.
And remove themselves from a situation. That amazed me. I'm like, why be here?
Yeah.
And kind of like that, like, why stay subscribed to something? Why keep following somebody? Why let the text messages keep popping up? If when you see that person's name pop up, it almost like gives you hives, like it just sends you into this horrible state of emotion. Why keep that going?
If Fox News can't post something and you can't not get upset with it, you need to unfollow them.
Yeah, like it's okay. They're going to keep going. They don't care.
They do not care.
If you unfollow, they're completely fine because they're going to find 100 other people that are going to follow them back. And that's anything, any influencer, anything like that. It's almost like it's almost like, I don't know, it's either amusement for us to see what they post next, or I don't know, maybe we're just too lazy to click the unfollow button. But what do we keep ourselves in that we could remove ourselves from and life be so much better if we just took a second and just unfollowed?
Yeah.
Or muted or whatever.
Yeah, no, it really is. Now, if anything anybody posts, you need to get off social media.
Yeah.
If it's a constant...
Yeah, if the platform as a whole stresses you out,
yes.
just be done with it.
If you have ever said the phrase, man, I'm just going to get off Facebook, and that was 2 years ago and you're still on it, you need to get off Facebook.
Yes.
It's not, you are hurting your walk with Christ. But at the same time, use it wisely.
Yeah.
Be smart with it. And kind of going back to something you had said earlier about roadblocks, freedom is not zero rules.
Yes.
That's chaos.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask for that. And, kind of a side note, be a friend that someone does feel comfortable enough with you where they can ask for accountability, and you say, hey, every time I get on this, I think bad. Make sure I stay off of Facebook.
Yeah.
And then them check in on it. Man, I can't. Every time I see somebody's Instagram story, it upsets me. Say, okay, well, help put other things in. There's a whole Bible you can read instead of getting on that.
Absolutely.
So put things in place that you need to keep that peace, because so many times we believe things that are lies. We listen to things that aren't true. We think evil of people, and that's not a good way of thinking.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's kind of like people joke around, well, because it's on the internet, it must be true. No, it's not. I mean, like, people are just going to post stuff, you know? And I'll tell you a verse that's helped me a lot, in a lot of times. I mean, and I'll just be honest, times as far back as COVID, when things were crazy, and let's be honest, that was a very negative time. I mean, like, on anything. Like, that was just, if you watch the news for 2 seconds, everybody's just gone, and it was bad. But this verse helped me out a lot, and I think it can be a help. But Philippians 4:8 just says this, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Everybody
just deleted everything off their phone right there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's basically just go back to just contacts and just where you call people and send a text. Because, I mean, anything can fall outside of those lines. But again, it gets back to the intentionality. And so, like, if we're going to have the platforms, and this is kind of what we'll leave you with, at the end of the day, if we're going to have these platforms, right, if we're going to have this access to the world around us, through these phones, through this digital age and social media and all these things, you make the choice of what comes across that screen. Choose things that are going to lift up your faith. Choose things that are going to encourage you. Be something that somebody else may be an account on social media that somebody may choose that lifts them up or encourages them, whether it's, spending more time in the devotion app that you have, outside of just the one check for the daily reading plan, actually get in there. And, some of them now, they have journals with them as part of it, journal, talk about what God's doing in your life or what he's sharing through scripture. Let's get into one that we don't like a lot. Let's make sure that the playlist are things that lift us up, that it's not just this hodgepodge of music because it sounds good to listen to, but make sure it's actually helping us in this life and pointing us to God. If you're going to follow people online, make sure they're Christian creators. Make sure that they talk about their faith in a right way, not a skewed way. And you got to be careful of that a little bit, but as best you can, find somebody that, again, in their faith, they're not ashamed to talk about it, and that they use their platform in the right way. Or even things like what we're doing here. And we're not, again, this ain't about pushing us or this podcast or anything through it, but again, be intentional in what comes across the screen. Be intentional in what you see or what influences you and all of these things. And so I say it like this, as we kind of wrap up with it, and I know today's been a little bit longer topic of things, but there's a lot more we could talk about if we're honest in this. And it goes to this. You don't have to unplug it, right? You don't have to be off of it, but just use it with a purpose, right?
I do have a challenge this week.
Okay.
Do something this week with your family that you don't post.
Yeah.
And see how gratifying it is to just live life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Try to do that this week.
Yeah, you don't have, not everything has to be experienced through a screen.
Nope.
Just do something that you enjoy with your family, that you have fun, and you'll start taking control back of that technology. Use it for God to get the glory in your life, and set the barriers. And before you realize it, you won't be so stressed out.
Make it a slave, not a master.
That's right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Appreciate you listening. We'll see you next time.